Welcome to the Bette Makes Creative Crafters podcast. Our guest today is going to be Kristi Stone and create a handmadeholiday.com. Now, Kristi has been crafting for over 30 years and uses her skills every year to make handmade gifts for her friends and family. Aside from teaching weekly workshops in her Facebook group, she also runs a program called Handcrafted Gifts Made Simple, where she teaches crafters to plan and make handmade gifts on time, on budget, and with no stress. And trust me, we don't want any stress when it comes to looking at that. So without any ado, welcome, Kristi. I'm so excited to have you here. Please tell the listeners who you are and all about your company. Besides what I just read, I'm really curious about all the different aspects of it.
Right. Okay, so let me look at my notes. So I started Create a Handmade Holiday sort of as a branch out of another blog that I've had since, I don't know, before 2010. And originally I was a homestead blogger. And so I taught people things like gardening and canning and, animal care and those sorts of things. But I don't know, homesteaders are kind of like DIY people, and we want to do everything ourselves, And so one of the things, it just made sense for me to start making my own handmade gifts. And so that's kind of how Create a Handmade Holiday was born. And what I ended up doing was creating a time frame sort of schedule that would make it so that I could do all of my handmade gifts that I wanted to do every year on time, and without like feeling so stressed out, because I would get to November and I'd be like, oh no, I don't have time to make handmade gifts. And so I would just like chuck the idea every year. And I decided I was not going to do that anymore. And so for the last 3 years, I've been doing all my handmade gifts on time, on budget, and with no stress. And I really love teaching people to do that. And so I teach people an array of different crafts. I have added paper crafting in because I have a silhouette that I didn't take out of the box for 4 months because it was just really intimidating. But now I'm using it for that. I also teach things like candle making and soap making and all kinds of different things that I brought over from my homesteading blog into, those kinds of skills into handmade gift making. And it just sort of integrates really well together. But now I get to go outside of that whole arena, that homesteading arena, and get into other things that I really love to do. And so, yeah.
So what's the, like, when you're doing all these handmade gifts, what is your absolute favorite thing to make? You must have a passion for something in between there, right?
Yes. Well, I'm sort of a jack of all trades, and I have a lot of different hobbies, but I have to say that in the last year, my most favorite one has been junk journaling. It's been making junk journals for gifts for other people, or actually varying different kinds of journals, because some people just aren't, they're not the junk journal type, but they are journalers. And so I like to make those kinds of things for people that are based on things that they really like or whatever. For my mother-in-law, I tend to make things like photo journals because, she's 80 now, and she posts a lot of pictures on Facebook of her, black and whites of her and her sister when they were really little and those kinds of things. And I tend to gather that kind of stuff and, arrange them all in a really cool fashion for her that I know would be exactly what she would love to look through all the time. So I really love that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to make those. So now probably goes through the same process I do. You have to come up with some creative ideas on what to make. So what kind of thought process do you go through to do that?
So when I'm thinking about, say, creating a junk journal, usually what I do is I think about the person, and what I think they would like best. Or if I'm, say, doing it for a summit or whatever, I try to think about what would people like the most at this time, and what would they be interested in using, because a lot of people don't know how to use a junk journal. They're like, wow, those are really beautiful and everything, but what do you do with that? And so I like to make them practical to whatever it is that they are going to maybe use it for. And then basically I just think of a title first, and then I just sort of build around that. And it can morph and change a little bit based on what, when I'm looking at color and I'm looking at different types of embellishment to put inside and that kind of thing. But mostly that's pretty much it. And it's a really forgiving craft. So it's not like hard to make little changes and stuff like that. It's Yeah, it's a neat craft, very
Yeah.
forgiving.
Now, with your junk journals, what you talked about the ephemera, you
Mhm.
must have different sources for it, or do you create all your own?
So, um, there's a lot of free ephemera out there, and but I also buy from Etsy. I don't know, people create some amazing stuff out there, and they'll sell it, a big pack of it, for like $1 to $3 or something that you can use. I also love a specific brand called Stamperia. It's really my it's really my vibe. I love it. And so I've used those a couple times in junk journals that I've done for summits. And they're sort of like a quick way to give it a theme, but there's just a lot of different places where you can get it, but there's a lot of really nice free ephemera out there, and I like to use that as well and make those available to people, because not everybody can afford to spend $1 jillion just to get things, so I like to find that stuff, mine the internet, and tell my people where to find that stuff, uh, because junk journaling basically started, as a way to use, um, or actually, that's how I started wanting to do it. Um, there are people that buy everything for a junk journal, and then there are people that use, cereal boxes and plastic from wrappers and all kinds of different things to make these. And so I try to make them both of those things accessible. So
Yeah, and it seems to have its own terminology as well. So
yeah.
my daughter loves to make junk journals. She actually made me make one. Well, I've made ones from you, but she called it a signature on the inside.
Yes.
Is that what that is? Can you explain to the listeners what a signature is?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically a signature is just various papers. So you could use only copy paper if you'd like to, but a lot of junk journalers will use all kinds of different kinds of paper. They might use, like, I don't know, in an Amazon delivery box, you might get that craft paper that's sort of crinkly and stuff. Some people use that. But anyway, basically what a signature is when you put together a whole bunch of pieces of paper and fold it, and then you do like a pamphlet stitch on it. And then what happens, I mean, a junk journal, the ones that I usually do for the summits are usually just one signature, but a lot of people will make, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6 different signatures and put them all into one junk journal to make just a really, like, a fantastic big giant thing, that is really, they're beautiful and so creative.
Yeah, so the signatures are like a mini notebook that goes inside the journal itself.
Yeah,
Yeah, those are fantastic because you could do so many different things with those. Now, I go overboard when I do anything, and of course, with the junk journal, I had to go overboard, and I bought this big heavy duty awl that I can fit in my hand to puncture holes in so I could put eyelets in the cover. Now, I was probably going overboard for most people, but what kinds of junk journal bindings do you use? Just because the listeners need to know more about this.
sure. So I use a lot of times I'll just use just a simple pamphlet stitch, or I will stitch a signature on my sewing machine. But as far as for, if you want to put a whole bunch of signatures together, there's a couple different ways to do that. Um, my favorite way that I have seen and that I use is to to how is that? There's like a stretchy elastic, you know, that you can just tie in a like a kind of like a rubber band, and on one side you can put, things like paper beads or some kind of beading, and on the other side just goes right inside of the middle of the signature, and it just kind of holds it in there. So if you want to write in it, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but sometimes junk journals look really bulky and like it looks uh like it would be really difficult to write in. So it's nice to be able to pull the signatures out, but you don't have to do it that way. You can actually bind them directly into your cover, whether it be like a cereal box or, something else that you're using. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but I think the easiest way would be to um, maybe use like that kind of the gosh, I don't know why I couldn't think of it, but the elastic, with the beads and things like that.
Like an elastic thread. I bought some at the
Yes.
dollar stores, an elastic thread that I use
Mhm.
to push it through. So you really need to have those signatures come in and out quite easily. Like you were mentioning, that's something that, people want to write in them and sometimes find. I guess it would depend on the thickness of the journal as well. Now you mentioned covers using cereal boxes. That's what I did for my first one that I did. And I'm just showing people how to write on acetate, and I'm going to be using that for a junk journal as well, so you can see through. So the guess then I have to really decorate my signatures at that point. Have you used acetate yet at all as a
I
cover?
have not. I have not used it for cover, you mean?
Yeah, for a cover. It's just a cover. You can cut it on your Cricut machine and size it any which way you want. You can put holes in it and
Wow,
do it from
no.
that. But then it'll show through your signature. So decorating your signatures is my next question. What kinds of things do you do with the outside? I imagine a signature has its own little cover as well, not just paper.
It depends, on what you're doing with it. The ones I create for the summits always have like a little cover. Once I did like a little, it looks like a mini manila folder, and
Yep.
I love those because, and I would use those absolutely for even multiple signature junk journals, because if you just like turn them over, and use them, where the tab is at a different place, you can actually write on those, or, hang little tags and tabs and stuff off of there, that would give um, the indication of when the next signature starts, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
the other one I did for this summit is, I actually designed this one to look like a lighthouse, like the front.
Oh,
It's really
nice.
cool. And the paper that I used was from Stamperia. It's called Sea Land, and it's like the beach and that sort of thing, and lighthouses and nautical type theme. And I really loved that idea. So I went ahead and just, created that signature cover for that. And otherwise, as far as like covers go, I like cereal boxes a lot because there are so many, but you could also use things like chipboard. And it depends, there's like different weights of chipboard that you can use and that kind of thing. I mean, you can almost use anything. I actually like to really to do really special things with them. And one of them that I'm making right now is covered in fabric, and it has a lot of down each side of, I don't know if I can explain this right, but it laces up with lace,
Oh,
not lace, but
nice.
satin shoelaces. And it's
Mhm.
going to be like a kind of a gothic sort of theme. And it's really, really cool. Like, it's just, I love it. And you can't tell it's a cereal box at all. So
No, the one I did, you couldn't tell as well. But the advantage to me from the cereal box, it already has the two folds for the spine.
yeah,
So I didn't have to
exactly.
recreate anything at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
those,
That's
those
what
are
I love about
perfect.
that. Mhm.
Yeah, so you could use eyelets or anything to
Yes.
do the tying. So tie in the back,
Yes,
keep it
that's what I was trying
closed.
to say, was eyelets along the sides there, and then it
Oh,
kind
so
of
it's
tapers in like,
laced up. Oh, that is
yes,
so wonderful.
yes, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
It's
it sounds really great. Now, for the spine itself, you must do, well, with the eyelet one, you would have the lacing in the back, but what kinds of things do you do on the spine of the junk journal? And how thick are they?
They can be pretty thick if you want. I'm experimenting with one right now. I especially love this one YouTube channel that I have watched a lot of, and it's called Treasure Books. And she has this spine. It's a thick spine, and then it's got like, threaded. I don't know what she used to thread it. I don't think it was the elastic, but you could use probably something like um, DMC floss or something like that. But anyway, on the spine, every single signature that's sewn in has like paper beads, all
Oh,
along it. It's very boho. It's really, really pretty. I just love it. And yeah, that's something that is on my radar to do very soon
it
because
sounds like you can be so creative with it. It's just absolutely fantastic. Now, I have one last question for you, of course. And so, how would people start to get into junk journaling? Obviously, createahandmadeholiday.com is the first place they're going to go. But do you have some courses and different things that people can take?
well, I actually do junk journaling probably a few times a year with my people in my free Facebook group called Handmade Gift Bosses. And I do free workshops twice a month there. I also have handcrafted gifts made simple, where every single workshop, summit, everything I do just gets kind of dumped into there. And it's my membership. Um, and that is where they can get a lot of that stuff from me. But most of my workshops that I do, well, all of my free workshops that I do, they can come in, they can learn from me, they can watch the video for 30 days, and then it gets put into my program. So, yeah, there's that. And there's also, like I said, my Handcrafted Gifts Made Simple program that they can get into. And I'm building a whole I'm constantly building this program, because everything I do goes into there for my students.
Yeah, exactly. So, any last advice for anyone wanting to get into this?
Yeah. Start here's my best advice for if you're going to get started junk journaling, because it can be very expensive. Go to the dollar stores and get, everything that you can that you think would be really cool, for embellishment or whatever. Start with just you know, learning like one binding stitch, you know, for one signature. And, you know, don't spend a whole lot of money on it unless you know you're going to really love this. Save your cereal boxes. I mean, I've got a lot. Save things that you think that you're going to throw away, you know, like that you normally throw away, like berry boxes, you know, that have the
Mhm.
plastic there. You can make stuff like, I mean, I'm sure that people that are using the Cricut are making those little shaker boxes, you know, that can be like a cover of a shaker box. You know, you can do a lot of different things with stuff that you would normally throw away. And so that's where I would start. Dollar stores, save your trash, and you know, don't spend too much money until you really like it.
Thank you so much, Kristi. And just to let everyone know, our guest today was Kristi Stone. She had so much great advice on junk journaling. And make sure you go to her website and learn a lot more. This is a way to get into junk journaling if you haven't tried it before.